Right, just turn this thing off. Right, well, I've just realised I haven't actually said anything about this bike other than little bits I'm tinkering with. Probably anyone's watching this knows what this is. Probably because they've got one, because in the title it'd say Triumph Sprint ST 1050. So it's a 2006 Triumph Sprint ST Sports Tourer 1050. It's a 3-cylinder fuel injected bike, 1048cc or whatever, near enough 1050cc. It's 125 brake horsepower at around, I think, around 9,000 revs. So how actually practical that is, I don't know. And I should have done my homework. I think it's either 100 or 105 Newton meters of torque. I think it's 100 or 102, something like that, around about the 100 Newton meters of torque. So it's actually a very torquey bike. Same amount of torque as my XJR 1300 had, and that was a 1300 4-cylinder, whatever, and more torque than more torque than my V-Strom 1000, and think it's about the same amount of torque as this, but this is a 95 horsepower boxer twin, but the torque is about the same. I think that's what matters with bikes really, practically, is how much torque there is. It's nice to have great big fat horsepower numbers, but at the end of the day, you know, getting to 70 mile an hour in first gear, how practical is that unless you're on a racetrack? So, you know, I've already been through the videos and showed you it with the luggage and that. So, what else was I going to tell you? Oh, I'm stuck now. Hang on, I'll have to pause. Yeah, it's got, now that I've turned off the ignition, it's got 26,000 miles on it, just over. Normal gauges. This gauge on here is just basically lots of trip meters, fuel economy, miles to next petrol fill up. I've just got it set on daytime clock and the overall mileage. It's got a fuel gauge and a temperature gauge. I'm not really fussed about all the average mileage and consumption and all that, but it's on there. The only thing it doesn't have, unfortunately, is miles an hour in digital, because these are quite small. Be nice if that was actually in big digital letters, but there you go, it's not digital, LCD, whatever. Yeah, and let's turn the typical fuel injection modern bike. The lights come on straight away with the ignition. Indicators in the mirrors flop up, which is handy at the moment when you've got that much room to squeeze it in. Your usual 120, 70, 17 on the front, 120, 70, 120 something. Your standard, yeah, 120, 70, 17. And on the back, it's got your standard 180, 55, 17. So, same sort of setup as a 1200 Bandit or whatever. Chain drive. Unfortunately, I did like the shaft drive on that. My second shaft drive bike ever. I did like that. Chain drive, but it is a single-sided swing arm, which you need a special tool for to adjust the chain tension with, which I haven't got, which slips in there somewhere and is normally seized. So single-sider. Instead of having 4 wheel nuts or wheel studs like the BM, it's got one big hub nut. Hey, hub nut. Another YouTuber. So, but I have got a socket that big, but not that I carry with me out on the road. Water cooled. What else can I tell you? No room under the seat because the exhaust lives there. It's a single silencer, but it's got 3 outlet pipes, so there's nothing under the seat. The battery lives there. Plastic tank. Apparently later ones they put metal tank on because these had problems with expanding, contracting and leaking. Hopefully I won't experience that on this one. Short-ish clip-on type bars. In 2007 these clip-on bars, you know what I mean, these bars actually got longer by I think 1.5 inches, which will bring them up, and because of the angle back a bit. Now if I'd have known that when I bought those, you can't see them from here on the shelf, those bar risers, if I'd have known that the 2007 onwards had higher bars, I would have bought some higher bars and then got around the cableage. And then apparently later, even later, they got higher still. There were various heights as the years went on. I think these come out in 2005. Could be wrong. So this is early-ish. It's a 2006. And there's probably loads more I could tell you about it. That's a non-standard screen. It's a bit taller, which is nice. Oh, this is the non-ABS version. ABS was an option on these. Later became standard. Not sure which year. Side panniers were optional on this year. Luckily somebody put them on. The Triumph panniers. Heated grips were optional. This didn't come with them, but I will probably fit some Oxford decent ones at some point. The panniers are down there. Nice looking panniers, not particularly practical. Don't think you can get a full face helmet in it because of the shape, but they're panniers. I run with a top box. Yeah, sure, there's loads more, but that's it. Just sort of give you a quick overview. It's definitely much more responsive than the BM, but this is made to get to touring speed and stay at touring speed all day and do 200,000 miles without even looking at, whereas this thing will get to speed very quickly. It do everything that one does, but I would very much doubt that engine is going to last anywhere near as long as that one. But that's a tractor, that's not a tractor. Tractors last forever. These things don't. This was £1,000 less than what I paid for that, even though it's 3 years newer. So there you go. It's horses for courses. This is solid, reliable, indestructible German solid engineering with some very clever stuff on it. Even though I'm selling it, it has got some real ingenuitive stuff, like the electronic screen, this great big handle here, which you lift the bike up onto the centre stand. Oh, that's another point. This, I think, depending on where you read, this is either 255 kilos dry or 280 kilos dry. Not sure which. That doesn't include all your boxes and panniers. This is 205 kilos dry. But I've got to say, this one is really hard to get on the centre stand. That thing, even with all the boxes and panniers, when it's up to sort of 300 kilos, is so easy to get on the centre stand. Your foot goes on the stand, you pull that lever up, and you just pull up on the lever and it just goes straight on the stand. This thing, you're supposed to grab hold of here and then put your foot down. I'm sure it's technique, but this, so far, has been really hard to get on the centre stand. Maybe it's because the bars are lower, leverage, not quite used to it yet. But yeah, even though it's 50 kilos lighter at least, it really is a beast getting on the stand. But other than that, it doesn't feel like a beast because it's half the physical size of that one. So there you go. There's your proper introduction to The Triumph that still hasn't got a name. Please help me out with that. Right, on to the actual video, which I may have lost. So we'll see if it's on the end of this, whichever way. See you in a bit. Peace and love. Okay, let's bring it back. Chain guard is here. I just spent about half an hour sorting out all the fixings for it. I'm going to go for 8mm head, hexagon head 6s, just so that it matches all 3 screws that mount it, and then the 2 screws that hold on the little bit on the top for the brake hose are Torx, and they're in good condition, so they're okay. So I figured, let's just use, basically that's all I had in the right size in the good condition, but all 3 bolts will now be hex, so that's easier to take it off in the future. But for now, because it's still a bit grubby from the breaker's yard, I've run out of WD-40 and brake cleaner because I had a proper degrease session. I cleaned the bike, don't look too close, I haven't polished it, still a bit still got plenty of watermarks on it, but anyway, I cleaned it all up and I got rid of all of the oily gunk. So I'm just about to pop up and get some more WD-40 and brake cleaner, which I really should buy in bulk because I get through tons of it. So I will see you in a bit. There's a spare bracket I didn't need. Right, I didn't film it. That's on. Surprising how something so simple can take 4 hours, including going up the road and getting stuff and all the other bits and pieces. I've had this thing on and off about 3 times, just deciding what fixings to use, and in the end I went for 8s and 10s on the top, just hex, because that's hex. So they're all hex, 8 and 10, that's nice and simple. It's on, it's done, it's sorted. I need to look at that wiring. I've just greased it all up for now, but what I want to do is pull the tail unit off and go through it, replace if I have to the connectors. They look okay, the lights are working, but I want to heat shrink it all and get it weatherproofed. For now I have greased it up, so see how that goes. I know it won't stay on there long, it'll get washed off, but probably onto the tyre. Yeah, so that's another project, but I've got some stuff to do today, so I'm gonna have to quit this kind. Yeah, obviously I need to get myself in the right frame of mind to pull all this off again and strip all that down, see if I can feed the cables through with enough length to allow for the risers. As Chris Greenwood quite rightly said, he can see me putting the risers on at some point somehow. Well, he's right, I've bought them, they cost 55 quid, which is, you know, that's money could be spent on other things, and shame not to use them having bought them. I obviously bought them because I thought I wanted them. We'll see, but I obviously am going to have this all off again and try and find a way of fitting the risers that doesn't compromise clutch cable, etc. So there you go, but for now it's right in this position, which has been okay up to now. Got a little bit of corrosion there to deal with, not much, that'll just be a quick rub down and some primer and satin black, all which I've got. So yeah, I need to get a bit on that before it gets any rustier. One of the few rusty bits on the one of the few metal pieces on the bike, everything else is steel. I mean, you know what I mean, it's all aluminium and plastic. Yeah, the other thing I'm going to try and figure out at some point is the crash bungs. Got them on the forks, got them on here. These, for some reason, these ones are missing. these would have to be quite long bolts with spacers and then your bung on the end. I whipped these off yesterday to see if they would fit here. They don't, obviously, because this gets in the way. So this is an add-on thing. There's like a kit. I've looked up R&G. This kit's about 150 to 200 quid. It's all this framework here, and then that bung, and that one on each side. So I can't get them separately, so I'm going to make something. I'm gonna whip this off again and just see if that screw is the same thread as that screw, because it's quite peculiar. It's a 10, but it's a really fine pitch, and I've got nothing. So if these bolts fit those holes, I shall have a measure up, and I shall take these bolts to my local bolt place and get the bolts I want, and maybe some spacers, and then just pick up some old crash bungs off of eBay, cheapo, just the plastic bits, and I can always ream them out, cut them down, shape them, just to make some for the front. It's nice to have them on it. Not something I normally put on bikes. I'm not really a fan of crash bungs, but they're on it already, so why not have that one there, which seems to be would be more protection if this dropped on its side. That whatever. Oh, it's bolted to the engine and the frame and all that. Whether they're good or bad, I'm going to sort out some crash bungs to fit in those holes. So there you go. Right, that's been me. As you can tell, my head's not in this today. I've got other stuff to do. So I will see you later. Right, yeah, sorry, head's not in it. Yeah, it took me 4 hours just to fit a blade chain guard, but I'm a perfectionist and I want to do it my way. Yeah, I've got 3 days off. Well, 3.5 days off. I finished at midday yesterday. 3.5 days off. And I'm getting phone calls and stuff from work, and you know why? Everybody knows I'm not there. There's other people there who are capable of doing the job, apparently. So oh, that's a see you later. Peas and loaf from a moody springy. I'm gonna go and chill out, do something else. Oh, I'm gonna go and collect a table now in my van. So I'll see you later. Peace and love. Tail wiring, risers, whatever next time. I'll see you later. Peace and love.